The Auditor-General provides assurance to Parliament on the accountability and performance of the Victorian public sector. The Auditor-General conducts financial audits and performance audits and reports on the results of these audits to Parliament. On the 18th of March 2015, the Auditor-General tabled his Performance Audit Report, Education Transitions. When children are successful in transitioning from early childhood education and care to school, or from primary into secondary school, there are long-lasting benefits to their later performance at school. However, transitions pose significant challenges to both the students and their schools. The objective of the audit was to examine the effectiveness of the Department of Education and Training, the Department, Early Childhood Services and schools in supporting children to make successful transitions. The audit found that the Department has developed a comprehensive, well-researched framework to support early years transitions. These actions have contributed to improved outcomes. In contrast, the Department does not have a strategy or framework for managing middle years transitions. Engagement and academic outcomes for middle years students continue to decline as children move into secondary school. The push to increase school autonomy has resulted in some innovative approaches from schools to tackle transition challenges. However, greater support is needed from the Department, particularly for middle years transitions. The Department now needs to focus on tackling the areas where no gains have been made. In order to make a successful transition, children need support not only from their families, but also from the services that share their care. They need to be prepared for the level and style of work expected of them, and their schools need to understand and respond to their individual needs. Schools and early childhood services deal with large volumes of children transitioning to a new environment every year. These include the two key transitions that all children undergo, when they begin their prep year at primary school and when they begin Year 7 at secondary school. In 2014, almost 75,000 children started prep and 65,000 started Year 7. The majority were in government schools. This volume of transitioning requires significant resources from schools to effectively transition their students. This figure, from page 40 of the report, shows the number of children who transitioned into a selection of 10 audited schools. It also shows the number of services or schools that they transitioned from. Students come from a wide range of service providers or schools, regularly in excess of 20. In one case, a secondary school received 271 new Year 7 students from 48 separate primary schools. In this context, it is a challenge for schools to develop and maintain strong relationships with such a broad network of schools. Where individual conversations are not possible, receiving schools place greater emphasis on the information that is transferred to them, making it critical that this information is available in a consistent, useful and timely form. To examine the effectiveness of services to support children to make successful transitions, the audit examined the Department's guidance and support to schools and services, its use of data to monitor outcomes and improve its practices, and the practices of schools and early childhood services to support students. The audit involves site visits to 30 schools and early childhood services. Early years outcomes are improving. Most children are well prepared to start primary school. Prep teachers' assessments show that children's developmental and academic preparedness have both improved. Kindergarten programs play a critical role in preparing children to transition to school. While participation in kindergarten is not compulsory in Victoria, rates are high. This chart shows the improvements that have been made in the reported kindergarten participation rate over the past 9 years, including significant improvements for Aboriginal children. The Department has implemented a comprehensive approach to supporting early years transitions. However, 1 in 5 children still begin school with a developmental vulnerability. Particular cohorts of children, including those from Aboriginal backgrounds, areas with lower socio-economic status, and boys, fare much worse. The improvements in early years outcomes have occurred concurrently with the Department developing and implementing a comprehensive framework for early years transitions. The framework includes high-quality guidance and resources, standardised transition statements for each child, and specifically funded programs. However, more could be done to better monitor the quality and effectiveness of the programs and initiatives in place to encourage a positive transition to school. There have been modest improvements in some middle years transition outcomes over the past 7 years. However, there are well-established gender-based differences in both academic and engagement outcomes during the middle years that the Department has not successfully addressed. This chart shows how boys' writing performance declines at a far faster rate than their female peers as they progress through school. This is particularly notable following the transition to secondary school, as shown within the red box on this chart. This trend has persisted over the past 5 years. The department has not done enough to fully examine middle years outcome trends and to relate these back to the strategies being used by schools to transition students. Unlike for early years transitions, the department does not have a clear strategy or framework for middle years. As a result, schools are tackling middle years transitions in varying ways. While this has resulted in some innovative practices, it has also led to inefficiencies across the school system. There are simple steps that the department could take to better support schools to improve middle years transitions. These include evaluating the available data more thoroughly and drawing on the successful approaches already in place for early years. More needs to be done to support transitions, particularly in the middle years. The timely transfer of information is hampered by a lack of understanding about the use and disclosure of information among schools, the capacity of schools to develop and maintain good relationships with the large numbers of feeder kindergartens and schools that their students transition from, and the lack of dedicated staff resources to transfer academic, engagement and personal information on each child. The department provides resources, guidance and advice to schools on transferring vulnerable students, and support for these groups has improved over time. However, without more detailed, accurate and timely outcomes information, it is not possible to know what impact this support is having for vulnerable students. Similarly, the department does not routinely examine outcomes for transitioning students and has no reliable information about the outcomes of particular approaches, strategies or methods used by schools. The department needs to understand and monitor the barriers to successful transitions, the actions taken to address these barriers and associated outcomes for students. While it is taking steps to address these issues, further work is needed. The audit report made 7 recommendations to the department that focused on reviewing the data collected from early childhood services and schools and making best use of it, further developing the guidance materials, support and funding provided to early childhood services and schools, and an increased focus on improving middle years outcomes and support for the most vulnerable students. All 7 recommendations are detailed in the report. The department accepted all recommendations and has provided a detailed outline of how it intends to address each recommendation, including deadlines for all recommendations. This is contained in the report. The Auditor-General will monitor this progress over time. In summary, the audit found that more could be done to monitor the quality and effectiveness of transitions programs and initiatives. The department needs to better manage inconsistencies across the system and properly support schools to transition students effectively, and more needs to be done to understand transition outcomes. A new approach is needed. Having improved some areas, the department now needs to focus on tackling the areas where no gains have been made. Previous related audits are listed on this slide. All our reports are available on our website. If you have any questions about this or other reports, or if you have anything else you would like to discuss with us, including ideas for future audit topics, please call us on 03 8601 7000 or contact us via our website.